Amano Keita is an ordinary high school boy whose quiet life revolves entirely around video games, until a chance encounter pulls him into the center of unexpected relationships. Misunderstandings pile up as friendships, rivalries, and romantic tensions spiral wildly, all driven by his sincere but awkward love for gaming. What begins as a simple invitation to join a game club turns into a chaotic and hilarious story where every choice feels like a high-stakes game he never meant to play. The story began one day when Keita was buying several games at a game store. While he was focused on choosing which games to purchase, a beautiful girl named Karayan suddenly approached him and greeted him. Keita froze in place the moment he saw her. Since it was their first time talking, Karayan quickly introduced herself. Karayan was a student from Class 2A at Otobuki High School. Karayan was known as one of the most admired girls at her school. She was smart, attractive, and talented in sports, making someone like her extremely rare. Even though she was not a celebrity, students at Otobuki High School often regarded her as a fallen angel or the school's idol. In contrast, Keita's situation was completely different from hers. He was shocked that Karayan had spoken to him at the game store and quickly introduced himself as well. He was from Class 2F and attended the same high school as Karayan. Keita felt that he must have looked awkward and embarrassing, and he never expected Karayan to be so friendly toward him. When he became startled earlier, some of his items had fallen, and Karayan kindly helped him pick them up. Keita could not understand why something like this was happening to him. He grew extremely nervous when Karayan asked whether he really liked games. His nervousness overwhelmed him, causing him to answer without thinking clearly. Karayan picked up one of the games Keita had chosen earlier. The game was titled Golden Memories, an adventure simulation featuring a lighthearted fantasy setting. Keita explained that he enjoyed games in general. Even though he spoke nervously, Karayan did not mind at all. At that moment, Keita had no idea how to behave and felt as though he wanted to disappear on the spot. Keita explained that he liked games because they offered interesting content, and sometimes his curiosity led him to check the information on the back cover. Karayan understood and agreed that the back cover was indeed appealing. Hearing that, Keita became increasingly enthusiastic and started talking more passionately about games. After a while, Keita worried that his behavior might have made Karayan uncomfortable. Unexpectedly, Karayan laughed after seeing how excited he looked while talking about games. To her, Keita seemed genuine and ideal in his own way, which led her to ask him to join the game club. Meanwhile, Thasuku was spending time at a game center when Agori asked him for help. Agori wanted Thasuku to play a claw machine game to get a large cat plushie, and she pleaded earnestly. Thasuku asked her for money to play, but Agori reacted with playful frustration. Thasuku then tried the claw machine himself and carefully controlled the claw. At first, Agori thought he had missed the target, but it turned out that Thasuku was aiming for the hook attached to the plushie. Thanks to that strategy, Agori successfully got the plushie and was overjoyed. Agori admitted that Thasuku was truly skilled at playing games. Although Thasuku acted indifferent, he was secretly very pleased and felt proud of himself. Since Agori was his girlfriend, her cheerful and innocent personality made him feel grateful to be with her. That evening, Agori and Thasuku walked home together. Thasuku asked why Agori seemed so happy, and she explained that she was thrilled to have received the plushie from him and promised to take good care of it. Not long after, Thasuku noticed Keita standing alone near a park. He thought that someone like Keita would never be able to be with someone as charming as Agori and dismissed him as socially awkward. In reality, Keita was with Karayan at that time. Karayan told him that she was in the process of forming a game club, but had not yet recruited members. She commented on how polite Keita always sounded when speaking to her. Karayan explained that her friends and teachers always spoke politely to her, and even characters in games tended to do the same. She also shared that she had stayed up for 3 days trying to break a world record for fast completion in a game. Keita did not immediately believe her and assumed she must have been exaggerating or dreaming. It was only then that Keita realized Karayan genuinely loved games. She had never talked about this interest with her friends before. The real reason she enrolled at Otobuki High School was because she had heard rumors about a famous game club. Unfortunately, the club disbanded before they entered the school. Because of that, Karayan had been secretly working the previous year to revive it, and she was confident that she would succeed this year. Keita congratulated Karayan and asked what the game club was truly about. Karayan explained that the club was not just about playing games casually, but treating them seriously as an official club activity. That was why she was searching for true gamers, and that was how she found Keita. Karayan asked Keita to visit the game club next time. She then said goodbye, explaining that she needed to head home. Before leaving, Karayan suggested that they meet again after school the following day. While at home, Keita still could not stop thinking about the game club. He never expected something so big to happen in his life. and he even wondered if everything that had happened was nothing more than a dream. Not long after that, his phone received a notification. Keita immediately checked it, only to find that it was just a request for help in an online game. At the same time, a girl somewhere was playing a game while smiling softly. The next day after school hours ended, Keita remained sitting quietly at his desk. Once again, he received a help request notification from Mono. Suddenly, Karan appeared and startled him. Karan apologized for being late to meet him. Keita did not mind at all, since he was simply passing the time. Karan was surprised to learn that Keita also played browser-based games. Her position was very close to him, which made Keita nervous, especially because their classmates were watching them. Keita then suggested that they head to the game club room right away. Keita followed Karan shortly after, feeling a bit guilty toward Mono for declining her in-game help request. At that moment, Thesuke could not believe that Keita had become so close to Karan. Karan brought Keita to meet another member named Ichi. She introduced them to each other and casually mentioned that Ichi really loved playing puzzle games at the arcade. Ichi became embarrassed when Karan shared that detail. Keita was shocked to see how close Karan and Ichi were, since he had previously thought that he was someone special to Karan. Ichi admitted that he did not have many friends, which was why he truly wanted to be friends with Keita. Keita accepted Ichi's handshake warmly. Keita was also surprised that the school had officially approved the game club. Karan explained that their club activities were more structured and meaningful than people might expect. When they arrived at the game club room, Thesuke and Ichi were amazed by how many games were inside. Unexpectedly, there were already other students in the room. Karan referred to them as strict seniors and then introduced one of them, Gakudo. Keita and Ichi greeted him politely. There was also another senior named Nina, who stayed silent because she did not like being disturbed while playing games. Karan explained that Gakudo was known as a top-tier FPS player on a global level. Ichi looked unfamiliar with FPS games, so Keita asked whether it was his first time seeing one. Ichi admitted that he only really understood puzzle games. Keita explained that all the equipment in the club room had been purchased using prize money from game competitions. That was what Karan meant by their club activities being well-defined, since they earned recognition through gaming tournaments. Karan then invited Ichi and Keita to play together. Gakudo even suggested a friendly test of skill. They began playing an FPS game together, and Keita was surprised that they ended up playing several rounds. Even so, the highest score still belonged to Gakudo. Keita became exhausted after playing for more than 2 hours. Karan commented that at least Gakudo was holding back a little, because otherwise the new members might have felt overwhelmed. Keita acknowledged Gakudo's unmatched skill, especially considering how challenging the AI opponents were. Gakudo casually remarked that his opponents were still at a basic level. Gakudo was genuinely surprised that Ichi, who was playing an FPS game for the first time, performed so well. Despite being a beginner, Ichi managed to defeat Gakudo 3 times. Ichi explained that he was simply copying the movements he observed. Keita praised Ichi's ability and even suspected that Ichi had played FPS games before, but Ichi denied it, explaining that it truly was his first time and that he found it surprisingly fun. Karan also praised Ichi, and even Gakudo admitted that Ichi showed real potential. According to him, the ability to observe and learn techniques from other players was a fundamental skill for becoming good at FPS games. Meanwhile, Gakudo pointed out that Keita's habit of jumping around on top of vehicles made him an easy target, which affected the team's performance. Keita looked discouraged after hearing that. Karan felt awkward and explained that Gakudo tended to get overly intense when playing FPS games. She apologized on his behalf and suggested that everyone take a break. Karan, Ichi, and Keita rested for a while to recover their energy. Keita was amazed that Nina and Gakudo were still playing enthusiastically despite having played for so long. Karan explained that both Gakudo and Nina truly loved games, sometimes even prioritizing them over daily meals. She then asked Keita and Ichi if they had any special reasons for wanting to become gamers. Karan shared that Gakudo had been trained strictly by his father, who was a soldier, which explained his exceptional FPS skills. Meanwhile, Nina wanted to use her strength to help save a friend who had fallen into a dark place. Keita said that he simply liked games, nothing more than that. The atmosphere became a bit awkward, but Karan reassured him that his reason was perfectly valid. Karan then asked Ichi about his motivation. Ichi admitted that he did not have a specific reason. Keita initially felt relieved hearing that, but then Ichi revealed that he had lost all of his memories, which was why puzzle games were the only thing he excelled at. Keita was so shocked by the revelation that he accidentally spat out his drink. Karan asked whether Ichi and Keita already understood the Gamers Club in general. She explained that most of the seniors were basically game fanatics, so she asked Ichi and Keita not to take any harsh or careless remarks from the seniors too personally. Karayan also said that they did not need to be extremely skilled at games, because the true purpose of the Gamers Club was to help everyone grow into better gamers. That was why she wanted all of them to work hard together to reach that goal. Heichi felt genuinely entertained by the activities that day, and he became interested in joining the Gamers Club. Karayan then turned her attention to Keita and asked how he felt about it, wondering whether he was interested in joining as well. Keita hesitated and began thinking about whether he should sign up. At that moment, Yakuto and Nina approached him and showed their willingness to help him improve his gaming skills. For Keita, this was the first time he had made friends during his high school life. Even though the seniors were difficult to talk to at first, they were actually kind people, especially Karayan, whose warm smile left a strong impression on him. Keita felt that his school life was becoming ideal, surrounded by the games he loved. Unexpectedly, Keita ended up saying that he was not interested in registering for the Gamers Club after all, because there were no games in the club that he truly wanted to play. Everyone was shocked by his answer. The next day, Keita could not stop thinking about what had happened. He could not understand why he had rejected the invitation to join the Gamers Club, even though it had been something he once dreamed about. He felt foolish for turning it down. Not long after, his phone vibrated with another game notification from Mono. Just as Keita was about to start playing, Karayan suddenly appeared standing right in front of him with a gentle smile. Keita was startled by her unexpected presence. Karayan was surprised to see that Keita was still playing games on his phone. She expressed that she still wanted him to join the Gamers Club and strongly hoped he would reconsider. She even went as far as earnestly asking him again and admitting that she had personal feelings toward him. Keita was taken aback by this, especially since many of their classmates were watching. Karayan then reached out her hand toward him. Keita accepted the gesture, and as time continued to pass, the game invitation from Mono was about to expire. Fortunately, Keita managed to move his hand and accept Mono's game request in time. Keita felt relieved that he was still able to play the game invitation from Mono, but he soon realized that he had unintentionally ignored Karayan. Karayan looked extremely embarrassed, and Keita immediately apologized to her for his rude behavior. While continuing to play on his phone, Keita apologized again and explained that he could not join the Gamers Club. Karayan wondered if Keita was worried about not being skilled enough and assured him that Gakuto would be willing to teach him. However, that was not the issue. Keita admitted that he played games purely for enjoyment and not for competition. He apologized once more and explained that while the Gamers Club was truly amazing, he wanted to enjoy games in his own way. Karayan felt deeply saddened, as the situation felt like a personal rejection to her. Keita thanked her sincerely for inviting him the day before. Karayan found it strange that someone like Keita, whom she had just met, could make her cry simply because of his refusal. Keita encouraged her to keep supporting the Gamers Club. Overcome with emotion, Karayan began to cry and walked out of the classroom. Unfortunately, she slipped on a banana peel and fell, causing all the students to look at her, which made her feel even more embarrassed. Karayan quickly ran away from the scene. Keita wondered if he had made her upset. Not long after, Mono sent him a message to thank him. That day, Keita's classmates noticed Karayan crying after talking with him. They became curious about what kind of relationship conflict had happened between Keita and Karayan. Some of them had overheard a conversation about a gamer club that Karayan and Keita had been discussing earlier, which made them even more curious. They wanted to ask Keita about it, but Thasuku thought it would be pointless since someone like Keita did not seem easy to talk to. Thasuku himself started wondering what kind of person Keita really was. Mika felt that Keita came across as irritating, while Masaya believed that someone like Keita was not worth much appreciation, even though his attitude still felt annoying. Thasuku commented that Keita seemed to live without any clear direction. Their classmates briefly thought that Thasuku was getting emotionally worked up while talking about Keita. While the lesson was going on, Thasuku could not stop thinking about Keita. He occasionally glanced over, quietly observing him from his seat. During lunch break, Aguri approached Thasuku with a bright, cheerful expression. She sat very close to him, acting as if she was recharging her energy just by being near him. Mika asked whether Aguri really liked Thasuku that much. Aguri laughed and openly admitted it. She had brought a homemade lunch for him, shaped like an adorable kitten, although it had ended up looking rather messy. Aguri mentioned that Keita was becoming a hot topic in Class C because he had turned down Karayan. Thasuku was not particularly interested and felt that it was nothing unusual. He recalled the moment when Aguri confessed her feelings to him and how he had no reason to reject her. Aguri genuinely loved Thasuku, and she believed she would be happy as long as they stayed together. After school, Aguri and the others went to the game center. Thasuku chose to split up from them because the room felt too crowded. He decided to try a crane game instead. While operating the machine, he suddenly caught a glimpse of his reflection that reminded him of his past. The memory disrupted his focus and brought back thoughts of his gloomy middle school days when he had been isolated by his classmates. After a while, he managed to win a game cassette. Unexpectedly, Keita had been watching him the entire time. Feeling shy, Keita introduced himself. Tasuku admitted that he already knew Keita's name and asked what he was doing there. Keita, still embarrassed, asked whether Tasuku liked video games. Tasuku explained that he had picked the prize without really looking at it. The game he won was Paradigm of Pantasia, a very famous title that he had never tried before. Keita considered the game a masterpiece and strongly felt that Tasuku should play it. Keita became extremely enthusiastic while explaining the game in detail and highly recommended it. Tasuku responded that he did not need recommendations from Keita. Realizing he had gotten carried away, Keita apologized and then excused himself before heading upstairs. The upper floor of the game center was dedicated to video games. Tasuku grew curious about Keita's purpose for going there. Keita appeared to be avoiding the crowd. Tasuku guessed that Keita liked video games but did not enjoy noisy arcade machines. Just as Keita was about to leave, Tasuku stopped him and asked him to stay for a moment. Keita, clearly nervous, awkwardly clarified a misunderstanding about Tasuku's intentions. Tasuku simply wanted to invite Keita to play a game together. Keita had always wanted to try one of the video games there, but in the past, he had only watched the demo videos. Tasuku wondered just how insecure Keita really was. Even then, he still found it hard to believe that Keita had rejected Karain. Tasuku asked about Keita's relationship with Karain. Keita smiled, realizing that Tasuku had seen what happened that morning, and then explained the situation to him. Meanwhile, Aguri was spending time with her friends while waiting for Tasuku to come find her. Not long after, she noticed Karain standing near the crane game area. After hearing Keita's explanation about Karain and the Gamer Club, Tasuku admitted that this was the first time he had heard about such a club. He became curious about what made the games played in the Gamer Club different from the ones Keita usually played. Keita found it difficult to put that feeling into words. Tasuku sensed that Keita simply wanted a friend he could talk to about games, and Keita quietly acknowledged that this was true. Tasuku felt that Keita still seemed emotionally unsteady. Before long, Keita suggested that they start playing. Tasuku asked whether Keita wanted to watch the demo video first, but Keita preferred to jump right in. Tasuku confidently believed that he could impress Keita with his skills. They quickly chose their characters, and Keita picked the protagonist. Keita wondered whether Tasuku had ever played the game before. Tasuku admitted that he usually chose characters based purely on how cool they looked. Once the game started, Tasuku pointed out that Keita played much better than Aguri since Aguri tended to press buttons at random. According to Tasuku, players like Keita were actually easier to predict. In the first round, Keita was defeated very easily by Tasuku. Keita felt impressed and acknowledged how skilled Tasuku was. Tasuku, however, thought that Keita's ability was still fairly low. They moved on to the next round, and Keita felt confident that he would be able to win this time. Tasuku found it strange that even though they were just playing a fighting game, Keita looked genuinely happy. Unfortunately, Keita lost again. Tasuku felt that Keita's skill level was unusually low, especially considering that even grade school kids these days tended to play better. After finishing the game, they walked out together. Keita felt genuinely happy that he had been able to play with Tasuku. Tasuku then asked what Keita wanted to play next, mentioning that it was not very fun if only one person kept winning. Keita became extremely excited and eagerly suggested playing more games. They ended up playing several different types of games, including shooting games, driving games, music games, and many others. After they were satisfied, they bought cold drinks from a vending machine. Keita was still full of excitement and asked what game they would play next. Tasuku wondered whether Keita was planning to try every game that could not be played alone. Keita felt embarrassed and avoided admitting it. Still full of energy, Keita rushed back toward the arcade machines. Tasuku smiled at Keita's behavior, feeling that it reminded him of his own past. While walking, Tasuku suddenly noticed Karain sneaking around nearby. He felt confused about what she was doing. As soon as Karain noticed him, she quickly ran away. Tasuku tried to call out to Keita, but at that moment the others arrived. Keita thanked Tasuku and hurried off. Aguri and the others approached Tasuku shortly afterward. Meanwhile, Keita ran off and Karain chased after him, still determined to invite Keita to join her gaming club. Later, Aguri asked where Tasuku had been since she had tried contacting him several times. Tasuku apologized and explained that he had only just checked his phone. Suddenly, Tasuku excused himself, saying that he needed to take care of something. He rushed out, leaving Aguri confused about what he was really doing. Tasuku exited the game center and began running as he searched for Keita, without fully understanding why he felt compelled to do so. He kept running while scanning his surroundings. When he reached a pedestrian bridge, he spotted Keita and immediately called out to him. Keita wondered why Thesuku had followed him. Thesuku questioned why Keita had run away, but Keita explained that he had not meant to run away at all. Keita admitted that he simply felt uncomfortable being around Thesuku, especially since Thesuku was seen as someone popular. Thesuku became irritated by that explanation. He strongly expressed that being labeled as popular was an unfair assumption. He emphasized that if he appeared confident now, it was the result of serious effort. He explained that when he entered high school, he had worked hard to stop being seen as a socially awkward kid, and he did not appreciate being dismissed so casually. Thesuku believed that Keita saw gaming time as the most meaningful thing in his life and thought that simply enjoying games made someone look cool. Thesuku personally felt that taking games too seriously seemed strange, and he also viewed Karayan's Gamers Club as foolish. He pushed Keita to respond to his comments. Unexpectedly, Keita reacted strongly and demanded that Thesuku take back those remarks. Keita admitted that he often felt useless and that gaming was the only thing he truly enjoyed. He apologized and acknowledged that many of Thesuku's criticisms were true. Even so, Keita felt that Thesuku had no right to insult someone he had only just met. The situation became tense, and Thesuku felt uneasy as Keita continued to confront him emotionally. Keita could not accept Thesuku speaking badly about Karayan. In Keita's eyes, Karayan was a kind person who had the courage to take action, especially since she had invited him to join the Gamers Club more than once. Because of that, Keita strongly wanted Thesuku to take back his negative comments about both Karayan and the Gamers Club. Thesuku was completely shaken and asked Keita to calm down first. Keita finally realized what he had just done to Thesuku, so he immediately let go and apologized to him. Thesuku then realized that he had been foolish to compare Keita to his former self. Feeling guilty, Thesuku also apologized to Keita. He never expected that the person who had turned down Karayan's invitation would be so passionate about protecting the Gamers Club. Keita looked visibly awkward, clearly embarrassed. Thesuku smiled and said that he was heading back to the game center, then asked what Keita planned to do next. Keita decided to go home because there was a game he wanted to play. They said their goodbyes, but before leaving, Keita apologized for calling Thesuku a popular kid. Thesuku said that Keita did not need to apologize for that. He realized that his past self was nothing compared to who Keita was at that moment. After coming down from the pedestrian bridge, Thesuku ran into Karayan. She looked extremely happy and completely captivated by Keita. It turned out that Karayan had seen everything that happened earlier. Only then did she notice that Thesuku was standing right in front of her. Thesuku said that he understood and wished her happiness. Karayan quickly grabbed Thesuku and asked what he meant by what he had just said. Thesuku replied that Karayan and Keita seemed to be a perfect match. Hearing that, Karayan's face turned red. Thesuku truly never expected that the most beautiful girl in the school could fall in love so easily. He decided that he would fully support them and even thought it might be fun to tease Keita about it someday. When Thesuku arrived at the game center, Aguri had already been waiting for him for quite a while. She asked Thesuku to play the crane game and win a plush toy for her. Thesuku said that he had already spent a lot of money on games. Aguri suspected that he had used his money to get a plush toy for someone else. Thesuku explained that he had only been playing with other guys. Aguri got upset that Thesuku had not played games with her and complained that he was being insensitive. Seeing Aguri sulking like that, Thesuku decided to give in and do what she wanted. Thesuku and Aguri had been dating for half a year, but in reality, all they ever did was hang out together after school. Thesuku even started to wonder why he had ended up dating Aguri in the first place. He asked which part of him Aguri liked so much that it made her confess her feelings. Thesuku assumed that Aguri would say she liked his face or something like that. As expected, Aguri said that she liked Thesuku because he was cool. She also talked about how Thesuku had gotten a plush toy for her back when they were in middle school. Aguri had liked Thesuku since middle school, and they often played at that same game center back then. Thesuku was shocked to learn that Aguri had liked him since his dark days in middle school. He finally remembered that he used to come to the game center just to keep himself busy, then won a plush toy from the crane game and gave it to a girl who was there. That girl turned out to be Aguri. When Aguri found out that Thesuku was attending the same high school as her, she thought it was her chance to confess her feelings. However, by that time, Thesuku had already changed into a handsome and popular guy. Aguri had also heard that Thesuku liked fashionable girls, so she worked hard to change her appearance. Aguri noticed Thesuku spacing out and moved closer to him. Thesuku's face turned red as he imagined Aguri, the way she used to look back then. Thesuku decided to head home right away. Aguri invited him to walk home together, but Thesuku left her behind instead. He ran as fast as he could, confused about why his heart was racing whenever he was near Aguri. He finally realized that Aguri had been interested in him since middle school, and he could not understand why she suddenly seemed so adorable to him. The next morning in class, Thesuku approached Keita, surprising him. Thesuku said that Keita had been right, and that the game Paradigm of Fantasia was really fun. Thesuku even asked Keita to let him know if there were any other good games, and Keita happily promised that he would. When Thesuku returned to his seat, Masaya asked since when Thesuku had become close with Keita. Daiki also asked if Thesuku was in a good mood, because he looked unusually cheerful. Thesuku replied that he had just been really into playing games lately. One morning, while they were at the shoe lockers, Thesuku called out to Keita and complained about a free game from Nobe that he found boring, even though Keita had previously said that the game was fun. Keita asked whether Thesuku had actually played the game and grew curious about Thesuku's opinion. As they walked toward the classroom while chatting, Thesuku explained that at first the game felt like a horror-style exploration filled with mysteries and intriguing prophecies. However, halfway through, he became confused when the game suddenly turned into a fishing game. He felt disappointed because the ending only featured middle-aged men catching black sea bream. Thesuku could not accept how the game ended up that way, especially since Keita had recommended it. Keita simply smiled and maintained that no games were enjoyable. Thesuku then stepped in close and blocked Keita's path, drawing puzzled looks from other students nearby. He went on to criticize Keita's taste, saying it was strange and that the game itself was poorly executed. Later in the classroom, Keita apologized and shared his thoughts that even if a game was flawed, it could still have a certain charm. To him, that feeling was similar to falling in love, which was not always logical. Thesuku found it odd that someone as inexperienced in romance as Keita would talk about love, especially to someone who already had a girlfriend. Those words weighed heavily on Keita, even though he had not meant anything inappropriate. Thesuku then asked about Keita's relationship with Karain and whether Keita had been seeing her often since the recent incident. Keita admitted that he felt sad because he rarely got to meet Karain. Thesuku suggested that not running into each other too often might actually prevent boredom. Keita misunderstood and thought Thesuku was talking about a 3DS game instead. Not long after that, Keita received a game request notification from an account named Mono. He started playing, while Thesuku watched beside him. Thesuku asked why Keita used the name Suki on his gaming account. Keita explained that he preferred not to use his real name online. The name Suki was inspired by his mother's maiden name Tsuchiyama, and sometimes he even used the name Yama. Thesuku thought the reason sounded ordinary and not very exciting. He then asked who Mono was. It turned out that Keita had been friends with Mono since he started playing the game, and because of that, Keita felt close to that person. Keita thought it was fun to be able to talk with someone he had never met in person. Thesuku commented that Keita might need a bit of personal growth before he could truly enjoy a romantic comedy phase in his life. Keita was confused about who Thesuku was referring to, but Thesuku mentioned Karain and felt that if things stayed the same, their relationship would not progress. Keita began to feel that he did not measure up to Karain in any way. Thesuku quickly clarified that he did not mean to make Keita feel down. By personal growth, he meant that he wanted to help Keita move forward from being a loner. Keita was touched when he realized that Thesuku genuinely cared about him. Thesuku put an arm around Keita and encouraged him to try talking with a girl who shared his passion for video games. After school, Thesuku took Keita to his intended target in Class 2A. The girl's name was Chiaki, and she loved playing games just like Keita did. Keita resisted, explaining that he did not want to approach someone under false pretenses, but Thesuku continued to push him. Suddenly, Aguri appeared and reminded Thesuku about their promise to hang out together after school. Before leaving, Thesuku told Keita that he was eagerly looking forward to seeing how things would turn out and urged him to talk to Chiaki. Keita was startled when he noticed people around him looking his way. At the same time, Karain was lost in her feelings for Keita. She became flustered when she overheard Ichi talking with him. Ichi asked whether Keita had come to see Karain, but Keita denied it and said that he was not interested and did not have any business with her. Karain was shocked to hear that, especially when she realized that Keita had come to see another girl instead. The news deeply hurt her. Keita then gathered his courage, entered Class 2A, and approached Chiaki, which made Karain feel utterly humiliated. Keita tried to greet Chiaki, but she was completely focused on her game at the time. Suddenly, Karain arrived and greeted Keita as well. Asking what business he had in Class 2A, Keita admitted that he had come to meet a girl, and Karain nearly lost her balance upon hearing that. She wondered if he might have come for class representative duties or some other reason. Keita then remembered Thesuku's message encouraging him to be honest. Summoning his courage, Keita clearly stated that he had come to Class 2A because he wanted to befriend Chiaki. Upon hearing this, Karayan collapsed, and Keita quickly caught her, causing the surrounding students to gasp in shock. Karayan's face turned red with emotion as she reacted angrily and accused Keita of being insensitive. She then ran off, leaving Keita confused, while Ichi hurried after her. After that, Keita immediately greeted Chiaki. Chiaki looked frightened because she did not recognize Keita at all. Keita seemed unsure about how to start the conversation, but when he noticed the game Chiaki was playing, he asked whether it was Aegis VII, the game that had been released the previous week. From there, they continued talking at the bus stop, and Keita introduced himself to Chiaki. He asked whether Chiaki also liked the game. Both of them felt very awkward since it was their first real conversation. Chiaki assumed that Keita was a member of the Gamers Club, and she apologized because she was not interested in joining the club. Keita explained that he was not part of the Gamers Club either, and that he had also been invited. He then asked whether Chiaki had been invited to join as well. Chiaki shared that Karayan had invited her, and she had come just to take a look at the clubroom. Keita asked whether the club's activities matched Chiaki's expectations. In Keita's view, the Gamers Club felt far too grand for people like them. It turned out that Chiaki agreed with him. She admitted that she enjoyed playing games together with others and competing in a casual way, but she was not interested in becoming the best at any particular game. Keita was genuinely happy to hear that Chiaki felt the same way. He acknowledged that the Gamers Club was indeed a legitimate and serious club. Chiaki felt a bit guilty toward Karayan, but both she and Keita realized how closely their opinions about games aligned. Without noticing it themselves, Keita and Chiaki gradually became more comfortable with each other. After that meeting, they grew closer and began exchanging messages frequently. It seemed that Keita and Chiaki were more alike than Thasuku had initially thought. The more they talked, the more they became aware of how similar their tastes and sensitivities were, especially when it came to games. The games they played, the way they thought about them, and even their playstyles felt like reflections of each other. At school, Keita and Chiaki became very close and were often seen chatting in the hallways. Karayan appeared irritated when she noticed how close they had become. They enthusiastically shared their unique perspectives on games, but it eventually became clear that Keita was more drawn to characters, while Chiaki paid more attention to the music. This difference led to an argument between them. Keita later told Thasuku about the disagreement, explaining that they had fundamentally different philosophies. Thasuku was surprised, as he had thought Chiaki was simply a quiet, game-loving loner. Keita explained that although he and Chiaki had been very close at first, Chiaki was modest and felt more like an equal friend than someone intimidating. Thasuku asked what had caused the argument. Keita felt strongly that games did not need overly cute characters to be enjoyable. Thasuku was surprised that Keita could get so upset over something that seemed trivial, but for Keita, discussions about games were something he took seriously. Thasuku suggested that it would be better for them to talk things out calmly. Thasuku tried to bring Keita and Chiaki together to resolve the minor conflict, but both of them stubbornly held on to their own opinions. Chiaki argued that if the Japanese game industry focused too much on cute characters, while overseas games emphasized storytelling and gameplay mechanics, it was obvious which approach felt stronger to her. In the heat of the moment, Chiaki made a sarcastic remark about Keita's narrow perspective, and Keita responded with an equally childish comment about Chiaki's appearance. Thasuku could not understand why the two of them could not get along despite being so similar. Chiaki softened when Thasuku stepped in to calm them down. Seeing this, Keita questioned why Chiaki admired cool guys but showed no appreciation for cute aesthetics in general. Chiaki denied that interpretation, and Thasuku reminded both of them that criticizing someone's appearance was not appropriate behavior. Thasuku then asked how far their discussion about Aegis VII had gone. As expected, once they started talking about Aegis VII again, both Keita and Chiaki became deeply engaged, enthusiastically exchanging opinions about the game. At first, they agreed on many points, but once their differing interests surfaced again, they fell back into another argument. Thasuku tried to stop them, confused about how the conversation had spiraled once more. Keita commented that both of them were game-loving loners with strong egos, which made it difficult for either of them to compromise when it came to games. Chiaki added that for people like them, there were clear boundaries that should not be crossed in discussions about games. Thasuku realized that the two of them were truly difficult to handle. At that moment, Keita sensed an intense and unsettling presence coming from Aguri. Thasuku decided to end the meeting and apologize for calling Chiaki all the way to his classroom. He admitted that he had enjoyed listening to their passionate discussion about games. Thasuku told Chiaki not to worry about the earlier comment regarding her messy hair, adding that he personally liked girls with slightly untidy hair. Chiaki's face turned red when she heard that. Aguri's presence became even more intimidating, and Keita felt certain that Aguri had misunderstood Thasuku's intentions. Thasuku encouraged Chiaki to become closer friends with Keita since they shared the same hobby. Keita realized that it was understandable for Aguri to misinterpret the situation, as from a distance it looked like Thasuku was getting close to another girl. Thasuku admitted that he liked Aguri's hair, but he also felt that Chiaki suited short hair better. He even mentioned that Chiaki was actually quite cute. Chiaki became flustered upon hearing this. Keita, on the other hand, grew worried that this might lead to a conflict between Thasuku and Aguri if Aguri overheard everything. At that point, Aguri looked as though she was on the verge of losing consciousness after hearing it all. At that moment, Karayan and Ichi were peeking at them from a window. Karayan felt extremely curious about what kind of relationship existed between Chiaki and Keita. Ichi did not know for sure, but it looked like Chiaki and Keita were fairly close. Karayan felt irritated at the thought that they might actually have a close relationship. That night, Thasuku and Aguri walked home together. Thasuku found it strange because Aguri was usually talkative when they walked together, yet she remained quiet the entire time. Suddenly, Aguri asked what Thasuku had been doing in the classroom earlier that day. Thasuku was surprised to realize that Aguri had seen him. He hesitated for a moment before explaining and eventually admitted that he had been trying to mediate between Chiaki and Keita. Aguri appeared visibly upset and asked why Thasuku had been spending so much time with Keita lately. Thasuku explained that he and Keita had only been talking about games. That same night, Keita exchanged messages discussing a game novel. The next day at school, students were buzzing about a beautiful girl who had suddenly appeared on campus. Thasuku wondered whether this girl could really be prettier than Karayan. Before long, Keita arrived and greeted him. Thasuku had a feeling that Keita wanted to say something. Keita seemed worried and asked whether Aguri had said anything to Thasuku while they were walking home. Thasuku said that Aguri had acted normally. Thasuku found it strange that Keita was concerned about Aguri, considering they did not even know each other. Not long after that, a short-haired girl approached them. All the students stared at her, but Thasuku did not recognize her at first. At that moment, Aguri walked over to Thasuku. Keita referred to the short-haired girl with a joking nickname related to dried seaweed. That was when Thasuku finally realized that the girl was Chiaki. Thasuku had previously given Chiaki a few suggestions about her appearance, but he never expected such a dramatic change. Chiaki looked uneasy and wondered whether her new look seemed unpleasant, but Thasuku had always thought that Chiaki was cute from the very beginning. Unexpectedly, Aguri overheard Thasuku praising Chiaki as cute. Keita noticed Aguri walking away and immediately ran after her. Meanwhile, Chiaki told Thasuku that after changing her appearance, even her own family had trouble recognizing her. Thasuku said that the new look suited Chiaki very well, which made Chiaki smile happily. Thasuku then looked around for Keita, and Chiaki informed him that Keita had run off while calling out Aguri's name. Elsewhere, Keita still had not found Aguri when he ran into Karayan. Karayan suddenly apologized for the misunderstanding that had happened the day before. Keita did not understand what Karayan was referring to. He then asked whether Karayan had seen a cute and stylish girl earlier. Karayan explained that the girl was looking gloomy near the school entrance. Karayan asked why Keita was chasing after her. Keita explained that it was related to a complicated relationship issue. Karayan could not understand why Keita had gotten involved in such a situation. Keita finally caught up to Aguri. Aguri believed that Keita was someone who was interfering and taking Thasuku away from her. Keita was confused about why he was being seen that way. He then invited Aguri to have tea together. At the cafe, Keita looked awkward because he did not know what to do next. He explained that Aguri seemed to have misunderstood the relationship between Chiaki and Thasuku. Keita reassured her that Thasuku truly cared about Aguri and even thought she had become even cuter. Aguri's expression instantly brightened, and she quickly went to order another drink. While waiting, Keita checked his phone and noticed a game event. He planned to invite Mono to join as well. Not long after that, Aguri accidentally dropped the drink on her tray when she saw Thasuku walking together with Chiaki across the street. Keita was also shocked when he noticed the same thing. One morning, Karayan began her daily activities right after waking up. She got up very early and started her day with a jog outside the house. For her, the early morning was a time for personal growth and self-reflection. Karayan was known for being very friendly toward the people around her. After finishing her morning exercise, she took a shower and continued with a morning study session. The calm atmosphere of the early hours provided the perfect environment for a busy high school student to focus on learning. After that, Karayan had breakfast and prepared herself to go to school. Most people would not realize that Karayan did not pay much attention to her appearance because she truly believed that real beauty came from within. The first thing Karayan did at school was socialize with her peers. At the shoe lockers, she greeted her friends warmly. She found a large number of letters inside her locker. Karayan lived by a principle of committing herself fully to whatever she could do in the present moment. During school breaks, she spent time with her friends and also willingly helped teachers carry equipment or prepare materials. She did not do these things simply for academic credit, but because she valued the meaningful experiences she gained from helping others. When lunchtime arrived, Karayan faced something that always made her uncomfortable, which was turning down boys who confessed their feelings to her. She believed that moments like those were her responsibility to handle directly and honestly. Even so, rejecting someone's feelings left a tight and heavy feeling in her chest. After school, Karayan headed to the Gamers Club room, where the members gathered to sharpen their skills through gaming. Karayan truly loved the tense atmosphere that filled the room when everyone was seriously focused on their roles. That evening, after returning home, she reviewed her lessons and played games to relax while also gathering new information. She then went to bed early to prepare for the next morning. That was how a bright and smooth day passed in Karayan's life. The following day, Karayan woke up from her sleep feeling unsettled. She had not expected to dream about Keita, and the dream itself left her feeling deeply embarrassed and confused. Because of that, she stayed in bed and skipped her usual jogging routine. She suddenly remembered that she had not finished her homework. She rushed to complete it in a panic, then quickly ate breakfast. After that, she hurried to get ready and fix her hair, moving so fast that she forgot to change out of her sleepwear. When she arrived at school, Karayan looked disorganized and rushed. She became extremely nervous when she saw Keita at the shoe lockers. Her face turned red, and she tried to hide so that he would not notice her. During break time, Karayan usually helped teachers carry supplies, but that day she found herself walking toward Class 2F instead. She had intentionally gone there to look for Keita. Before long, Keita noticed her presence and questioned what she was doing there. Karayan became flustered, her face heating up, and she quickly ran away. At lunchtime, she once again had to turn down a love confession from another student. The student became frustrated and asked whether Karayan already liked someone else. Hearing that question made her face turn red again, but she insisted that she had no intention of dating anyone. She felt extremely nervous even thinking about the topic of romance, and in the end, she firmly rejected the confession. After school, Karayan went to the Gamers Club room and played a fighting game match with Nina. However, Karayan could not focus at all. Nina found it strange that Karayan had been spacing out so often lately and asked what was going on with her. Karayan insisted that nothing was wrong, but admitted that her mind kept drifting toward strange thoughts. It felt similar to the moments when she first spoke with Keita at the game store, when she managed to bring him to the Gamers Club room, when Keita turned her down, when he was alone in Class 2F, and even when Keita acknowledged the value of the game club. Karayan admitted that she kept thinking about those moments over and over again. Gakuto pointed out that Karayan's sharp instincts had recently dulled and that her gaming skills had noticeably declined. Nina reminded her that her responsibility as the club president was to keep playing and lead by example. Karayan realized that she should not dwell on unimportant thoughts and needed to refocus on gaming. That night, before going to sleep, Karayan found herself hoping that Keita would come to the Gamers Club room the next day. Her face turned red again when she realized she was thinking about him. Karayan did not truly expect Keita to join the club, but she knew she would not mind welcoming him if he asked. She imagined herself guiding him and teaching him how to play games. Just thinking about that possibility filled her with quiet excitement. And so, a bright day that had slightly gone off track quietly came to an end in Karayan's life. One weekend, Karayan was walking around by herself, and her mood clearly was not in a good place. Everything started earlier when she had been playing games with Ichi in the game club room. During that time, Ichi brought up the topic of Chiaki and Keita's relationship. Karayan felt extremely annoyed, yet she could not do anything about it. She gradually realized that her gaming skills seemed to be getting worse, and she even felt like her expression looked lifeless. Karayan understood the reason behind her decline. Ever since Keita had said that enjoying the game was the most important part of playing, Karayan had begun to doubt her own playstyle. In her mind, Keita should be held responsible for that growing uncertainty. Suddenly, she heard Keita calling out to her. Karayan was startled, and her face immediately turned red when she saw him standing right in front of her. Keita greeted her politely, and Karayan responded warmly, acting as if nothing unusual was going on. She asked whether he was out shopping. Keita explained that his mother had scolded him for staying home and playing games too much, so he had decided to go outside for a walk. Karayan then suggested that they walk around together. Keita was surprised and turned her down, thinking that he was not suitable to spend a weekend like that with her. Karayan did not expect him to reject her again, and this time she refused to accept it. She stepped closer and asked why he kept refusing and whether he disliked her. Keita firmly stated that there was no way he could dislike Karayan, which caused her face to flush even more. He then admitted that he did not want to cause her trouble because of the rumors circulating around them. Karayan was taken aback and could not hide her nervous expression. Keita tried to excuse himself, but Karayan stopped him. She clarified that she was only asking to take a walk together, not to go on a date, and simply asked him to come along. Karayan brought Keita to a game store. There, Keita found a game he had been wanting for a long time. He looked genuinely happy, and Karayan had not expected him to be even more excited than she was. Noticing that Karayan kept staring at him, Keita asked what was wrong. Karayan was surprised to learn that Keita liked classic retro-style games. Keita became shy and mentioned that the game was much cheaper than the others. Karayan thought it was perfectly fine for him to like games like that, since he was still a teenager. Her reaction resembled that of an older sibling who had just discovered an unexpected hobby and did not quite know how to respond. Keita quickly purchased the game, and afterward, they continued walking together. Karayan mentioned that when two gamers went out, the destination was almost always a game center. She said that she often visited the game center whenever there was no club activity. She then asked whether Keita liked going there. Keita admitted that he had not liked going to the game center at first, but recently he had the chance to go with someone, and only then did he realize how fun it actually was. Karayan assumed that the person who went with him was Chiaki. Not long after, they arrived at the game center. Karayan pushed aside the thought that Keita frequently went there with Chiaki, telling herself that he might have gone with Tasuku instead. Keita noticed that Karayan seemed uneasy and asked about it. Karayan admitted that she felt disappointed that Keita had gone to the game center with another girl. Keita was confused, especially since Karayan herself had invited him out. They soon went inside, and Karayan planned to play games together with Keita. As they passed by the crane games, Keita said that he had not expected Karayan to be the type of person who enjoyed competing at crane machines. Karayan replied that she was not particularly interested in crane games. She began to suspect that Keita had been thinking about Chiaki the whole time, and she even imagined him playing crane games together with Chiaki and acting overly close. Feeling irritated, Karayan lightly knocked her forehead against a coin machine in frustration. Keita misunderstood and thought that Karayan wanted to play a coin game. He inserted a 500 yen coin and ended up winning a large number of coins. To Keita, Karayan looked like someone watching a teammate waste valuable resources on an unnecessary move in a game. Karayan scolded Keita for not using his observation skills from the start. At first, she had wanted to play cooperatively with him, but she decided to compete instead. To her, coin games were all about luck, and afterward, they could compete fairly in other games. Karayan viewed this match as a struggle tied to her own pride and recovery. She was determined to defeat Keita and reclaim what she felt she had lost. Keita wondered why Karayan was so fired up over a simple coin game. Karayan thought that if Keita kept complaining like that, girls would not find him appealing. Karayan asked to start their rivalry right away, and the competition lasted for 30 minutes. She was confident that she would definitely beat Keita. She wanted to begin with a coin pusher game, but the most popular seat was already taken. It seemed like that game was not suitable for earning a large number of coins in a short amount of time. Karayan did not expect to see Keita sitting at a machine with the lowest number of coins. She assumed that he had some kind of plan, but it turned out that he was genuinely a beginner. Karayan started playing her game. It felt physically draining, but she stayed motivated because she really wanted to beat Keita. After 30 minutes passed, Karayan had managed to collect a large number of coins, while Keita had not earned a single one. Keita thought he should try to do better next time, but even so, he still enjoyed the experience and considered the coin game to be fun. Karayan felt confused. Even though she had clearly won, she did not feel satisfied at all. One of Karayan's coins fell to the floor, and Keita quickly picked it up. He became interested in a horse racing game and asked Karayan for permission to use that coin. Keita immediately inserted the coin into the machine and explained that he wanted to make use of it, which was why he had treated their coin game as a kind of competition. The horse racing game began. Karayan wondered why Keita would go that far, especially since he was not the type of person who liked competing, and she believed that he usually did not care about winning or losing. Keita explained that competition made games more exciting and made winning feel more meaningful. Karayan was surprised to hear that. Keita became very enthusiastic as the horse race entered its final lap, but unfortunately, he did not win. He then noticed that Karayan had gone quiet and seemed puzzled by her reaction. After finishing their games, they went to a nearby arcade. Karayan wondered whether Keita had refused to join the game club because he disliked how the club members played games with a strong focus on winning. However, she found it strange that Keita looked frustrated when he lost and even tried to win until his very last coin. To her, it seemed odd, because she thought Keita only cared about enjoying games and should not be concerned with winning or losing. Keita admitted that he did care about those things, and that he naturally wanted to win. In his view, enjoying a game and caring about wins and losses were not separate ideas. If someone truly did not care about winning or losing at all, then they would not be able to fully enjoy the game. Keita bought a cold drink from a vending machine, and unexpectedly, he won one. He felt genuinely happy and showed it to Karain. He then gave the prize drink to her. To him, sometimes winning, sometimes losing, whether it caused excitement or not, games were still his favorite form of entertainment. Karain asked again about Keita's reason for refusing to join the game club. Keita admitted that he did not have the kind of determination needed to constantly aim for victory. Karain shared that she always got very emotional about wins and losses in games, and she wondered whether that made the game club seem silly. Keita believed that enjoying victory and regretting defeat were the strongest sensations in gaming. That was why he admired the club members who practiced extremely hard to win. He never thought they were silly. However, he felt that he personally lacked the courage to fully commit, so he would often move on to another game before becoming truly skilled at one. Hearing that made Karain feel relieved. Karain then said goodbye. Keita felt confused about why she was suddenly heading home. Karain smiled and admitted that she really wanted to play games at home. The next day, Karain played games in the club room with the other members, but to her surprise, her skills kept declining. Gakuto pointed it out, wondering why her performance had dropped so badly when she had been doing so well before. Her gameplay had become even worse than that of a beginner. Karain was on the verge of tears as she realized that every time she tried to enjoy a game, Keita's face kept popping into her mind. Feeling frustrated, she blamed Keita for distracting her thoughts. Aguri accidentally spilled the drink she was carrying after noticing Thesuku walking closely with Chiaki across the street. Keita was completely caught off guard by what he saw right in front of him. Not long before that moment, Thesuku had tried to contact both Aguri and Keita, but neither of them responded. At that time, Thesuku was on his way home with Chiaki. Chiaki wanted to bring up the topic of game development. Thesuku wondered whether Chiaki was really working on a game when there was someone else who seemed far more suitable to talk to about gaming. Chiaki admitted that she did not care about Keita at all. Shortly after, Chiaki's phone vibrated. She explained that she had just received a notification from a game and began playing it while walking alongside Thesuku. She apologized internally for needing about a minute to focus on the game. By chance, Thesuku noticed Chiaki's in-game account name Mono. After thinking about it for a moment, he suddenly realized what that name meant. Acting on impulse, he lightly held Chiaki by the shoulders to get a clearer look at the username Suki displayed on her phone. From a distance, this was the exact moment that shocked both Aguri and Keita, as their bodies appeared extremely close, giving the impression of an intimate scene. Thesuku immediately let go of Chiaki and wondered whether she recognized the name Suki. It turned out that Chiaki had been friends with Suki since she started playing the game, and she felt a sense of closeness with that account. She realized that talking with someone she had never met in person could be surprisingly enjoyable. Thesuku quickly understood the situation. He once again held Chiaki by the shoulders and loudly questioned how far the fate between Keita and Chiaki would go. Aguri lost consciousness after witnessing Thesuku holding Chiaki in such a way, while Chiaki's face turned red as she struggled to understand what Thesuku meant by fate. Thesuku then tried to understand Chiaki's opinion of Keita. Chiaki described her dislike for him by comparing it to an overexposed TV celebrity who appeared too often due to agency decisions. Thesuku continued the conversation with Chiaki near a shaved ice stand and wondered whether her dislike came from Keita's shy personality. Chiaki denied that assumption and exaggerated her stance by saying she would rather choose an extreme option than be stuck alone with him, a statement that reflected frustration rather than genuine intent. Thesuku then asked why Chiaki used the name Mono for her game account. Chiaki explained that it was a nickname derived from her mother's maiden name Mono. She also believed it was better not to use a real name while online. For that reason, she often used the name No, especially when working on game development, and she consistently used it for her projects. That reasoning perfectly matched something Keita had once said, which left Thesuku stunned. Overwhelmed, Thesuku once again questioned how far the shared fate between Keita and Chiaki truly went. Chiaki was confused by Thesuku's sudden outburst. Thesuku then remembered that Chiaki originally wanted to discuss her game development. Chiaki admitted that she still felt uncertain about how to continue her project. Thesuku could not understand how two people with so many similarities like Chiaki and Keita still had not started dating. He was curious about where their misunderstanding began, yet at the same time, he also wanted to support Karain. Thesuku began to wonder where Aguri and Keita were. He wished there were a quick solution to resolve everything. And suddenly, an idea came to mind that he believed could work perfectly. The next day, Thasuku invited Keita and Chiaki to organize a casual gathering for gamers. He knew that both of them loved games but did not feel comfortable joining a formal game club. Because of that, he wanted to create a relaxed meetup focused purely on enjoying games, which became the foundation of the gathering he envisioned. Both Keita and Chiaki were excited about the idea. Unfortunately, neither of them was willing to invite the other personally. Thasuku was baffled by how stubborn they both were. He explained that they would be involved in shared activities during the meetup, meaning they would not only talk about games but could also openly exchange opposing opinions. According to Thasuku, it was natural for people to want to express their thoughts, especially towards someone they disliked. Keita and Chiaki had no real reason to refuse. Thasuku felt satisfied after successfully drawing both of them in. They then wondered whether the gathering would involve only the three of them. Around that time, Karan was heading toward Keita's classroom. Thasuku had also invited her to join the gamers' gathering. Karan apologized for arriving late and expressed her gratitude to Thasuku for including her. She was surprised to see that Chiaki was also participating. Keita and Chiaki felt awkward because they had previously turned down Karan's invitation to join the game club. Karan reassured them that she did not take it personally. She then wondered whether the reason they refused the club and chose the gamers' gathering instead was so they could spend time together. Thasuku realized that Karan seemed to be misunderstanding the relationship between Keita and Chiaki. Unexpectedly, both Chiaki and Keita admitted that Karan's suspicion was understandable. Karan was taken aback and began to feel as though her presence at the gathering might not be necessary after all. Thasuku grew anxious, fearing that his grand plan to involve Karan in the gamers' gathering and place Keita in the middle of a romantic comedy scenario involving two charming girls was falling apart. Acting quickly, he pulled out a chair and invited Karan to sit. Karan was confused, wondering since when Thasuku had started acting so dramatically. Thasuku explained that their discussion that day was about Chiaki's next game project. Keita had only just found out that Chiaki was actually a game developer. He assumed that her games were probably boring. Only Thasuku knew that, in truth, Keita was a huge fan of the games Chiaki made. Karan had just realized that Keita and Chiaki did not seem to get along very well. Thasuku then asked what was making Chiaki feel unsure. Chiaki shared that she often created games she personally wanted to make, but they were not very popular. Her games would likely gain more attention if she played it safe and focused on public feedback, but doing that would make the process far less enjoyable for her. Thasuku asked for Keita's opinion on the matter. Honestly, Keita said that he did not really care about those concerns. Chiaki became irritated and wondered if that meant Keita was not interested in her games at all. Karan was confused by Keita's attitude, but Keita believed that what mattered most was whether the final product turned out good or not. Chiaki then questioned whether that meant Keita had no expectations for developers in general. Keita suggested that Chiaki should simply make the games she truly wanted to create. Whether they became popular or not, they would still be her own work. He felt that Chiaki should do whatever she liked, and that one day her work could become a masterpiece, or perhaps she could combine every familiar cliché into something unexpectedly fun and exciting. Chiaki was deeply moved by Keita's response. Keita apologized if his thoughts sounded shallow or unrefined. Keita then talked about a free game developer he admired. Whether that developer aimed for popularity or not, his passion and determination never faded. At that moment, Aguri was secretly watching them from outside. Keita admitted that he did not care about the mistakes Chiaki might make. Soon after, Chiaki and Keita appeared to start arguing again. Karan grew worried that they were fighting once more. Thasuku quietly mentioned that the only reason Chiaki and Keita were even able to talk like that was because of Karan. In reality, Keita really wanted to talk to Karan, so he ended up starting conversations with fellow gamers, even if things eventually turned awkward. Thasuku and Karan were standing very close to each other, close enough to cause misunderstandings. As expected, Aguri looked deeply upset. She called out to Keita, urging him to come over. Keita hurried to Aguri and apologized to Thasuku and the others because he had to leave. Chiaki was genuinely surprised to learn that Keita had a girlfriend as young as Aguri. She thought Keita actually suited Aguri quite well and mentioned that she had seen him chasing after Aguri the other day. Chiaki then left, as her bus was about to arrive. Karan and Thasuku looked confused by everything that had happened. Not long after, Karan suddenly ran out of the classroom and loudly announced that she was refusing Thasuku's invitation to the gamers' meeting. Unexpectedly, Thasuku also rushed out and declared that he wanted to withdraw from the gamers' gathering as well. Later, Aguri broke down emotionally at a cafe while sitting with Keita. She scolded him intensely, clearly overwhelmed by frustration. She was upset about how everything had turned out, especially since Keita had previously assured her that Thasuku and Chiaki had no romantic connection. that Thasuku still had feelings for her, and that Keita supported her relationship with Thasuku. Because of that reassurance and her good mood at the time, Aguri had even treated Keita to drinks. Now, she could not understand why the situation had become even more chaotic. Keita looked uncomfortable as Aguri continued expressing her anger. Aguri blamed Keita for not telling her that Chiaki was both attractive and very assertive. Keita explained that Chiaki had not behaved that way before. Aguri cried so loudly that other cafe customers began to notice them. She even reenacted what Keita had told her before, about how no matter what happened, he would make sure Thasuku came to his senses. At the time, Aguri had admired Keita for being so bold and dependable. Now, she was frustrated that Keita had ended up arranging a meeting involving both male and female gamers together. Aguri's emotions continued to spill over until a cafe staff member gently reminded them to stay calm. Both of them apologized and finally settled down, sitting quietly as the tension slowly faded. At that time, Keita also could not understand how Thasuku had ended up acting like someone who casually flirted with many people. Aguri felt that Thasuku did not seem particularly interested in her anymore. Keita wondered whether Aguri still loved Thasuku. Aguri admitted that she did still love him. Keita thought it might be better for her to look for someone who was more similar to her. Aguri laughed and called Keita silly, believing that love was something that was felt rather than clearly stated. She saw everything that had happened as an unfortunate accident, and even though it was painful and hard to reach, she continued to love Thasuku. Keita felt sorry for Aguri and promised that he would do his best to help Thasuku and Aguri get along again. Aguri thanked him and invited Keita to work hard together with her. Unfortunately, while Aguri and Keita were standing very close and holding hands, Chiaki happened to see them through the window. Keita was startled and immediately let go of Aguri's hand. He rushed outside to chase after Chiaki and explained the situation to her. Aguri could only watch from behind the glass. When Keita returned to the table, he told Aguri not to worry because he had already explained to Chiaki that Aguri was an amazing partner. Aguri became curious about what Keita had said to Chiaki. It turned out that Keita had described Aguri as the most understanding girl in the world, and that no one could compare to how cute and beautiful she was. Keita made sure that Chiaki truly understood who Aguri was. Aguri felt happy after hearing this and praised Keita, saying that he was impressive and dependable. Keita thanked her and mentioned that Chiaki's reaction seemed irritated. He believed that Chiaki was simply being overly timid. Aguri did not expect Keita to go that far, so she promised that she would do her best to help Chiaki talk properly with Karain, even if it meant turning down Thasuku's invitations. Keita expressed his gratitude, and they agreed to cooperate with each other for mutual benefit. Meanwhile, Thasuku was spending time at a game center. He tried to push away his lingering suspicions about the relationship between Keita and Aguri, believing that Keita was simply being kind in chatting with her. Thasuku then realized that the two of them actually had some similarities and might even be compatible. He attempted to drive away those negative thoughts, but he could not ignore the fact that Aguri had fallen in love with the Thasuku from the past. That version of Thasuku was someone who loved playing games and seemed awkward, which made him resemble Keita quite a bit. That night, Keita was playing Golden Memories, but he kept losing. He felt confused because when he played with other characters, he could easily reach a happy ending. However, after playing 3 times with a character who reminded him of Karain, he kept ending up with a bad ending instead. The next day, Keita asked Thasuku for advice about dating simulation games, but Thasuku refused, saying that it did not count as real relationship advice. Keita asked Thasuku to see it as his attempt to learn how to talk to Karain. Thasuku firmly believed that dating games had nothing to do with real-life relationships. He suggested that Keita should focus on his actual issues with girls, and that it was time for him to approach Karain directly. Instead, Keita continued practicing conversations through dating games because he felt that his presence did not leave a strong impression on Karain. Thasuku found this strange, since Keita was already able to talk normally with Karain, Chiaki, and Aguri. Thasuku also reminded him that Keita had once played a coin game together with Karain. Keita only saw it as competition, but Thasuku considered it hanging out, which meant they were already friends. Keita then assumed that Karain was only acting friendly because she liked Thasuku. He felt insecure about being friends with her, believing that he barely mattered to her at all. However, Thasuku pointed out that Karain would never intentionally invite someone she disliked. Karain herself believed that she had only casually suggested hanging out because they happened to run into each other by chance. Thasuku began to realize that Keita was truly overthinking everything. Keita was surprised that Thasuku cared so much about his relationship matters, even though Keita himself did not think about them that deeply. Thasuku explained that it was because Keita was his friend. Keita felt touched and admitted that he was happy to be friends with Thasuku. Thasuku believed that Keita should save those heartfelt words for a girl instead. Unexpectedly, Chiaki arrived in the classroom and was shocked to see how close the two of them were. She immediately ran away. Thasuku realized that another misunderstanding had occurred and quickly chased after Chiaki. Keita was left completely confused by their behavior. Not knowing what else to do, Keita quickly called Aguri to ask for advice on how he should handle the situation. That day, Thasuku was at a cafe with Chiaki to clear up a misunderstanding about his relationship with Keita. He could not believe that things had led him to casually hanging out at a cafe like this. Chiaki asked whether Thasuku was doing okay, and he admitted that he was feeling down about how harsh the world could be sometimes. Chiaki confessed that she never expected Keita to have such an adorable girlfriend. She also admitted that remembering how Keita openly showed off his girlfriend still annoyed her. Thasuku asked whether Chiaki was sure she had not misunderstood what she heard. Chiaki explained that it was her first time seeing a guy who talked about his girlfriend so openly without any hesitation. Thasuku felt uncomfortable with the direction of the conversation and decided to ask Chiaki about her opinion of Karain. At that moment, Keita and Aguri quietly passed by them. Chiaki said that she rarely talked with Karain and sometimes felt insignificant when comparing herself to her. Thasuku realized that Chiaki and Keita actually shared the same perspective. Chiaki admitted that she admired Karain and hoped they could become close someday. Thasuku thought to himself that Chiaki and Keita really would make a good couple because they were so similar. Chiaki then asked for Thasuku's opinion about Karain. Thasuku felt that Karain seemed like an extraordinary girl, and hearing that made Chiaki even more convinced that Thasuku had feelings for her. Thasuku tried to cheer Chiaki up and told her that she was a wonderful woman who almost matched Karain. Without thinking, Thasuku gently patted Chiaki on the head. Chiaki reacted with surprise and panic when he did that. Thasuku immediately apologized and explained that he was simply used to spending time with girls who were physically expressive in a friendly way. Meanwhile, Keita and Aguri had overheard everything. Keita was shocked and thought Thasuku had gone too far by praising Karain so highly and casually touching Chiaki's head. Aguri was still stunned by what she had witnessed. Even so, she felt relieved that she had seen the situation with her own eyes. And despite everything, she still cared deeply about Thasuku. Both Aguri and Keita were unsure about what they should do next. Aguri then asked about Keita's desire to get closer to Karain. She explained how she used to struggle socially before becoming who she was now. Keita unintentionally made a thoughtless comment about how Aguri's efforts once led to misunderstandings in her past relationship. Feeling hurt by his words, Aguri lightly pinched Keita's cheek to express her frustration. She told him that no matter how much he tried to polish himself on the surface, that alone would never be enough. Keita argued that in dating games, raising stats was all it took to move forward. Aguri reminded him that real life was not a game, even if some games reflected parts of reality. According to Aguri, human relationships were not determined by levels, and people could not instantly become friends just by boosting charisma. In real life, 1 + 1 did not equal 2, but rather something deeper that grew over time. She explained that Keita and Karain needed to become friends first, and Keita needed to be recognized as a genuine person by Karain before anything else. Aguri believed the very first step was simply having a conversation. Keita then asked how Aguri had confessed her feelings to Thasuku in the past. Aguri became shy and admitted that she straightforwardly asked Thasuku to date her. There had once been a rumor that Thasuku liked girls who acted a little clumsy, and although that rumor was not true, Aguri had still spoken honestly from her heart. Keita was surprised by how simple it sounded, but Aguri explained that the most precious feelings were often the simplest because they came directly from the heart. That was why, if Keita truly wanted to be friends with Karain, he should express his feelings sincerely. Aguri believed that Keita could definitely do it. Keita said that he would try the next day, and Aguri was happy to hear his answer. Both of them looked confident and encouraged each other. The next day, as usual, Karain was politely turning down someone's romantic feelings. She explained that she had no intention of dating and believed it was better to remain friends than risk a failed relationship. She made it clear that her decision was not about social differences, and she calmly declined the student's feelings. The student looked frustrated and walked away. Eiichi observed everything from above. Later, in the club room, Karain explained the situation to Eiichi. She believed that rejection needed to be clear and firm, without leaving room for misunderstanding, because being too gentle could unintentionally give false hope. Eiichi finally understood why Karain had rejected the student so decisively. He suspected that this had become a common situation for her. Eiichi suggested that Karain should let her true feelings guide her more and be even more honest, since she often prioritized her ideals over her emotions in both good and bad situations. He encouraged her to better explain her intentions. He did this intentionally so that Karayan could grow closer to Keita. Karayan realized that she might need to stop rejecting everything without giving herself room to connect with others. That night, Keita was playing a dating simulation game. At that point in the story, the character Flora, whom he had chosen, was being harassed by a group of troublemakers. The game presented two options: stepping in to help her or running away. Keita ended up choosing to escape, and as a result, he received a bad ending. He felt confused because he had already played the game 10 times, yet he kept losing every single time. He had tried every possible option, but nothing worked. Keita started to think that this might be a sign that he would never be compatible with someone like Karayan. Not long after that, Agori sent him a message. She reminded Keita to get enough sleep, explaining that people would notice the tired look on his face. She also asked him not to stay up late playing games. Thasuku also messaged him, saying that he knew about Keita's plan to meet Karayan the next day. Thasuku even mentioned that he was thinking about gathering people around and wanted Keita to do it in front of everyone. He believed that doing so would earn Keita respect, but if things went badly, Keita might end up being avoided instead. Keita felt irritated, but he chose not to respond harshly to someone who had done so much for him. Soon after, Mono sent him a message as well, cheering him on for the game event happening the next day. Keita felt certain that Mono was probably a shy and socially awkward person. He felt deeply grateful to Agori, Thasuku, and Mono for continuing to support and encourage him. Keita then decided to try the dating game one more time. He began to think that maybe he needed to be kind to everyone, not just to Flora. This time he chose options that seemed like they would make everyone happy. Eventually, Flora confessed her feelings to him. Keita was genuinely surprised that she finally did. Through that ending, he realized the importance of treating everyone with kindness and respect. In the end, he managed to clear the game with a happy ending. He understood that no matter what, he should never be unkind to people who had been good to him. Keita admitted to himself that his success in the dating game with Flora was thanks to Agori, Thasuku, and Mono. He felt truly happy, and even if Karayan ended up rejecting him, he already felt satisfied and at peace.